times and hardly ever mentioned the word Metro until we just asked you. So are you denying or saying that you did not clear your attack on the grocers and your direct conflict with your brother's work with the Ethics Commissioner? You didn't bother to do that?
The member knows that I have attacked all corporate greed by name, specifically including the CEO of Loblaws, the CEO
did you
of
ever
Metro,
meet with the
CEO
did your brother ever meet with the CEO of Metro?
Hey gang, what's up? Just Ehren right here, Question Period Canada. How y'all doing? Everyone is tired of JAGMEET Singh, especially the Conservatives. A lot of Canadians are fed up with the NDP Liberal coalition as well. It's interesting because JAGMEET Singh has to appear at committee and he gets grilled by Ryan Williams and then Rick Perkins. They have a quick message to deliver before we show the clips from committee. They're very interesting. JAGMEET is not forthcoming. He's playing the role of Trudeau's lapdog. It seems that way to me. You can make up your own mind. Let's take a look at these clips. They're super interesting. These committee meetings, guys, they always are. Let's take a look.
We're here at Industry Committee where JAGMEET Singh has just appeared, and we questioned him for an hour and he couldn't defend his conflict of interest, his support for the carbon tax and its effect on food, or his lack of ability to stop this government and his lame agreement with the government to stop these big mergers. Ryan?
Well, the question is, what has JAGMEET Singh done for Canadians? He stood with this government as they approved Rogers buying Shaw, HSBC being bought by RBC, and WestJet buying Sunwing. What's the result of that? Higher cell phone prices, higher airline prices, bigger banking and you know what the biggest problem is? CEOs of these corporations are making more money from a guy who says he's defending Canadians and against greedy CEOs. He's actually helped them and he's hurt Canadians. When's his red line? Where's his red line? We haven't seen it.
I asked him why he won't oppose the carbon tax when it's putting the cost of food up, and he claims to care about that issue, and he refused to answer the question. As a Liberal sellout, he continues to support the carbon tax. I asked him why he didn't clear with the Ethics Commissioner his clear conflict of interest when his brother lobbies for one of the biggest grocers in Canada. He never acknowledged the fact that he's in a clear conflict of interest with what he's doing. He doesn't speak for the little guy. He speaks for the university professor and woke Canadians, and he's forgotten about working Canadians and ordinary Canadians.
He has sold out Canadians. To sell out Singh. He's only about his pension.
He's lost the track as a Liberal lackey and lapdog. It's time for a change. It's time to get a new government, a majority Conservative government, that will bring home more powerful paychecks for Canadians.
And bring home competition.
And to start the discussion, I'll turn it over to MP Williams for 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Singh, you claim you're working for the fairness of people and Canadians, and you're here today to claim that you're standing up for competition. After your agreement with the Liberal government that's now been over 2.5 years, there's been 3 mergers that have gone through. RBC purchased HSBC, Canada's #1 bank, buying #7 bank. Rogers bought Shaw, and WestJet bought Sunwing. And this has been detrimental to Canadians. Canadians are hurting right now. Why did you not stand up for Canadians and say no to these mergers?
That's not all the case. We did absolutely say no to those mergers. We said it was wrong at the time. And not just saying that it's wrong, now I'm putting forward a bill that would prevent those things from happening. We actually put forward the amendments in the other bills that I noted to make it harder for these type of mergers to happen. We've been very vocal opposing mergers that hurt Canadians. I've asked questions in Parliament on these very matters. And we are now I'm putting forward a bill in my name that specifically would ban mergers that make up more than 60% of market share.
So, Mr.
And in
Singh,
addition, we've put amendments that make it harder for mergers that are 30% and above.
So, Mr. Singh, you do have an agreement with the government. So at any time you could have ended that agreement. You could have included this as a stipulation in the agreement. And I think at the end of the day, we look at these agreements as useless because in not standing up for Canadians, these corporations have actually gotten bigger. When we look at HSBC and RBC buying HSBC, even in Vancouver, where you reside, HSBC had 10% of the book for mortgages. After that merger, interest rates went up almost 1%. More importantly, profits went up. Can you tell me, Mr. Singh, in this last quarter ending March 31st, how much more, what was the increase of RBC's profit versus the last quarter of December 2023? Just a number.
We are absolutely opposed to the type of mergers, and that's why we're putting forward a bill to do exactly that. So if the Conservatives are in support of these type of changes, I would invite them to support my bill, which would ban outright any merger
Mr.
that
Singh,
increases
just a number,
the market
please.
share
Just a
beyond
number.
60%. Support the bill. The bill is about ending these type of mergers, stopping mergers that hurt Canadians.
So, Mr. Singh,
for a long time, Conservatives and Liberals have ignored this problem.
The number is $1 billion. That's how much more profit RBC made in the first quarter of 2024 versus the last quarter of 2023. HSBC only made $300 million in that last quarter. So you can see what happens when mergers go through. Not standing up for Canadians means that Canadians are hurting. When we look at cell phone bills, and you've mentioned cell phone bills, Canadians do pay the highest cell phone bills in the world, and yet you stood up again and didn't say no to the Rogers-Shaw merger.
That's not true.
And at the end of the day, you could have ended this merger. You could have stood up to the government and said, this is our red line. We're not going to do this. And what's happened since then is that Rogers and Shaw both benefited. But maybe you can tell me, Mr. Singh, how much more, and I'm going to start with this. The Prime Minister that you support said in the House of Commons that cell phone bills went down by half. He said that. He said cell phone bills are down by half. So I'm going to ask you just a simple question. How much more in the year ending, March 31st, 2023, did Rogers make, and this is wireless revenue per user, than the year prior? Just the number.
We firmly oppose the Rogers-Shaw merger. I asked questions in question period directly to the ministers and to the government. I've been on the record. I don't know if the member ever asked a question on this ever. I've asked questions on this directly to the Prime Minister, said it's wrong. And I'm putting forward a bill that we're discussing right now that would protect consumers against these type of mergers. I'm literally addressing this matter in a law that we are talking about right now.
And Mr.
So
Singh,
if the Conservatives are interested in, which is news to me, protecting consumers, then they could support my bill, which would ban mergers that increase market share beyond 60%.
And Mr. Singh,
I oppose mergers that hurt
Mr. Singh,
Canadians.
you're talking
and
to-
we've got bills right now, a bill in front of this committee that would exactly do that, protect
and
consumers
Mr.
against
Singh, you're
mergers.
talking to the competition critic, the shadow minister for the Conservative Party, because our leader decided competition was that important to put someone in this position. And when we talk about where you could have been, you're actually in another position. You could have stopped the government from approving these three mergers which have hurt Canadians. We say, you know, it's a walking contradiction. You're standing up for these corporations who have only got bigger
I'm not
since
standing
you've
up
been
for them.
power,
I'm
and
opposing them.
consumers have lost less power. We're not seeing the prices come down. We're not seeing competition in, and you presented a bill, and we presented lots of changes. Even you and I had the both efficiency defense change that this government stole from us that was there, but you're not standing up for Canadians, and Canadians feel that you've sold them out. They feel
That's
that
not at all
you're
the
not
case.
standing up to the corporations. They feel that they're not going to do it.
That's
So
not at all the
people
case,
only
sir.
trust actions match word. Mr. Singh, the other push that we're pushing for in Canada is open banking. If we want to talk about taking a chunk out of the banks in Canada, open banking would do that. In the UK, when open banking was implemented, it saved the average person in the UK $400 a year. There's no transactional fees, no monthly fees, no overdraft fees with open banking, and it's only with 14% market share. And this government has 6 years to bring legislation to this government. They picked a regulator and only gave them a pittance, $1 million, to get the regulations in. This regulator, FCAC, was just in front of a Senate committee. Do you know how many of the 27,000 complaints that they answered since 2019? Can you just tell me the number?
So it's interesting. I mean, I'm literally saying to the member that we are opposed to large corporations ripping off Canadians. I have opposed the mergers. The member knows that very well, knows that I've stood up and opposed it. I don't know if the member himself has ever asked a question on this in question period, but I have. And I can say further that I noticed that the member has not asked a single question about the corporate greed in grocery stores. Is it because that your leader has been a receiver of the max donation from the CEO of Metros? Is it because the corporate or the conservative strategist for the party is a lobbyist for Loblaws? Maybe that's why they're not willing to talk about corporate food in corporate grocery stores, but I am. I'm ready to take them on. I'm ready to take on all corporations when it comes to ripping off Canadians.
Thank you, Mr. Singh and Mr. But we'll get back to you. Monsieur Perkins, the floor is yours for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Singh, for being here. You spoke a lot in your opening, obviously, about food prices. It's the main driver of this initiative. But after 9 years, the NDP has voted for every single budget that Justin Trudeau has put forward. And Canadians are more miserable and hungry than ever. Just as an example, lettuce is up 94% in that time, onions 69%, cabbage 70% since your deal with the Liberals. And a Dalhousie study, the food professor as he calls himself, shows that carbon taxes are increasing wholesale food prices by 34%. So my question is simple. Will you finally admit that carbon taxes increase the price of food?
Well, a couple of things are just false in that comment. 9 years, we have not supported every budget. That's not true. And in terms of the cost that Canadians are going through, Canadians were asked this very same question. Canadians were asked, what do you think is a major driver of your groceries? And Canadians were asked, and they answered, they said, the major driver that's pushing up the cost of their food is corporate greed. And then we also had an investigation. We had the Competition Bureau look into this. And it is very clear that corporations are ripping off Canadians. In fact, economists have made it clear that more and more large corporations are ripping off Canadians. So we're going after the major driver.
Increasing the price of food, yes or no?
We know the major driver, which is pushing up the price of food, is corporate greed. So why would we, and I don't know why the Conservatives are ignoring the major driver and looking at other things. We have something glaring in front of us that's hurting Canadians. The massive profits being accrued by CEOs of these large corporations, and the Conservatives want to ignore that, the major driver of the high cost of food, and want Canadians to believe that they actually care.
Mr. Singh, you're ignoring my question on the
Well, you're ignoring the major driver that is putting up the cost of food in our country.
Mr. Singh, you put a lot of fog in your support for the carbon tax recently at the Broadbent Institute. Do you support the carbon tax, yes or no?
Well, it's very interesting to me that we're talking about food prices, and I've made the assertion that corporate greed is driving up the cost of food, and Canadians agree with this assertion. And the member doesn't want to talk about corporate greed. The substance of this bill,
food prices, and
the substance of this bill is to take on corporate greed.
Will you answer a question, or are you just taking PMO talking points again? Does the carbon tax push up the price of food, and do you support the carbon tax? Yes or no?
The major driver pushing up the cost of food is corporate greed. And I don't know why the member doesn't want to talk about corporate greed that is ripping off Canadians. When Canadians go in the grocery store and they're paying more money than ever for their groceries, they know they're getting ripped off.
How many people?
I don't know why the member doesn't want to talk about corporate greed.
How many people are now going to the food banks as a result of your support of this Liberal government?
As a result of subsequent Conservative and Liberal governments that have not taken on corporate greed, have ignored CEOs ripping off Canadians, right now 1 in 4 Canadian is skipping meals. There's record food bank usage because Liberals and Conservatives refuse to go after corporate greed.
When you visited striking Metro workers and went on their picket line, did you inform them that your brother and NDP spokesman both lobby for Metro?
First of all, that's patently false. And secondly, the member knows very well that we have opposed corporate greed when it comes to Metro, Sobeys, Loblaws, Walmart, Costco. But it's interesting to me that Conservatives will attack everybody, including my family, rather than attack the CEOs that are ripping off Canadians. That is very telling. That is very telling of who the Conservatives are. While I'm directly going after the CEOs of corporations.
Colleagues, Mr. Perkins, I'd appreciate if you could stay respectful in the words that you choose at this committee. I'll let you pursue.
He could avoid it if he answered the questions rather than avoiding them like the Liberals do. So
not at all, sir. You know that I've directly addressed the matter, which is that corporate greed is driving up food, and I'm attacking all large corporate grocery stores.
Mr. Chair, would you tell him to stop talking over me?
Maybe the member doesn't want to do that because his leader receives maximum donations from the CEO of Metro.
Point of order, Mr.
I'm willing
Chair.
to attack the CEOs of all corporations.
Mr. Singh, yes, Mr. Perkins.
The NDP leader is talking over my questions. He's a witness. He doesn't get to pose the questions, and he's harming the translation issues while he talks over me.
Well, from my standpoint, it's been going both ways, but I would appreciate that, and you are both skilled parliamentarians, the practice is usually that the answer should be about as long as the question. And the questions have been fairly long, Mr. Perkins.
No, they've been about 20 seconds.
So please just try to keep that in mind going forward for all members. But Mr. Perkins, the floor is yours.
So when you began your the crusade on the grocery stores, did you clear with the ethics commissioner your stand because of your brother's conflict before you chose to attack all the other grocers except the one that he works for?
First of all, that's patently false, and the member knows it. I've attacked every CEO that's ripping off Canadians, including Metro, including Sobeys, including Loblaws. The member knows that. The member's lies will not change the fact that I'm right now talking about taking out corporate greed, where the Conservatives want to talk about everything but try to attack family members rather than attacking the corporate greed of these large corporations.
You've gone after Loblaws over 70 times and hardly ever mentioned the word Metro until we just asked you. So are you denying or saying that you did not clear your attack on the grocers and your direct conflict with your brother's work with the ethics commissioner? You didn't bother to do that?
The member knows that I have attacked all corporate greed by name, specifically including
Except
the
for your brother.
CEO of Loblaws, the CEO
Did you
of
ever
Metro,
meet with the did your brother ever meet with the CEO
of Sobeys,
of Metro?
the CEO. I've attacked Walmart, Costco.
Your
But the
answers along with my
Conservatives, though,
question. Did
Thank
you-
are
you,
did your
unwilling
brother
to
ever
go after
you.
corporate
Thank
greed.
you,
It's
Mr.
very
Metro.
telling that they're unwilling to go after corporate greed.
That's enough. We're out of time. I'll now turn it over to MP Badaway for 5 minutes.
Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics. So we're going to wrap it up right there. What a crazy all these committee videos, guys, they are wild and crazy. They're fun to watch. Like if you're an interested Canadian in federal politics, it's happening right here in committee all the time. We bring you as many videos as we can. Like, subscribe, share, get notified. We do a live show. It's fun. Come check that out. Check out one of the other videos that are floating around. That's going to be fun too. That's it. Thank you for watching this one. We'll catch you at the next committee video. There's always something interesting to share as we learn about Canadian federal politics. Catch you next video.